What's the farthest you've ever seen someone take a joke? My mom likes to obtain new pillows by accidentally taking them when she stays at a nice hotel. Several years ago, she did this. She took home 2 pillow and I think 4 pillowcases. A few days later, she gets a phone call. It is police from town and hotel they were staying at. She is told that she has stolen these items, and the hotel is going to charge her with theft. They have a court date set and everything. Mom flips the frick out, stressed to no end. She goes on about how she has a good record, and stealing a few little things shouldn't hurt, stuff like that. A few days of this, and my dad drops the bomb. He got a friend to play cop. No one cares that she stole anything. My dad was nearly murdered by my mother, and he laughed his butt off. Mom no longer steals pillows and cases. Mom no longer steals pillows and cases. Excellent. Mission accomplished in the best possible way. When I was 17, I used to babysit this kid that was 11. I looked a bit older than my age, and him younger. We got along great and had a good rapport. When I was 17, I also discovered alcohol, and my manipulative mind got to work. I hatched a plan and explained it to him. We would go to the liquor store, gov to run alcohol stores, and when we got to the cash, I told him to pull on my shirt with big puppy dog eyes and say, "Hurry up daddy, I have to pee." The guy working the counter bought it. For a year or so, I would take this kid to the liquor store to basically help me and my friends score booze. We would chat up this worker and everything. It's amazing what a little confidence and manipulation will get you. Fast forward 20 years, this guy still works at the liquor store, and he still asks how my kid is every now and then. I even make up stories here and there to keep it going. Oh, he just got accepted to university. Of course it's busy so he can't get much more than that. I ain't got no kids. You're genius. Depression soup. Back when I lived with my best friend, I generally did the cooking. One day I got home from work and was beat. He said, "No worries, relax, I'll make dinner tonight." For the next half hour, I heard various noises from the kitchen. He'd occasionally pop in and ask where certain ingredients were, grab pans, etc. After an hour, knowing he wasn't experienced in the kitchen, I yelled to him if he needed any help. Nope, almost done. 45 minutes go by. Dude, do you want me to order a pizza? I'm really hungry. Nope, I'm about to get this out. 30 minutes later, dude, what the frick? Bringing it out now. Son of a bee brings out a bowl of cold water with a raw potato in it. What the frick is this? Depression soup. It's all they had in the depression to eat. You're eating history. This causes depression, you butthole. We then order a pizza. I have to give him credit for staying in that kitchen for 2 hours just making noise in order to frick with me. Whoa, one on hand your friend is in butthole. On the other hand, he went through 2 hours of bulls for a joke. That's serious dedication. You're lucky to have someone like that in your life. In high school we invented a person, gave him a MySpace page, and talked about him all the time at school. The point of this pointless exercise was to get other people who otherwise didn't know to become friends with this person. He ended up with a lot of friends on MySpace, and we even heard some girl talk about how she was good friends with him, and they would hang out on the weekends. It was pretty great. Then we managed to get his picture in the senior yearbook. I really wanted to bring somebody to the 10-year reunion as Davey Stanson a few years ago, but the other collaborators weren't going to the reunion, so sharing a joke with myself would have been even more pointless. BS wedding is one of the most elaborate and long-lasting jokes I've ever witnessed. We're all 16 years old working a minimum wage summer job. One day a rumor started about one of the assistant managers getting married soon. He was only like 19 like all the other managers there. All of management is backing his story and talking about his wedding. He's got the date. The church picked up, invited all of us. This goes on for weeks. Every day someone would bring something up or start talking about it. The closer it came to the date, the stranger the story got. Not only was B getting married, the fiancée was Miss April from the prior year's Playboy. When we all got excited to meet Miss April, we were going to be disappointed because she was 8 months pregnant. With every question, was a legitimate answer. Where are you registered? No, don't bring gifts. It will just be great to have there. Why no invitations? The church is huge, and it's just a simple reception thereafter. Just come. Don't worry, the whole staff talking to each other. Hey, do you think this is real? I don't know, man. This has gone on too long to be a joke. Too many people backing his story. Finally, night before the wedding. This guy's still working, making his rounds, seeing who's coming to the wedding the next day. None of us are sure if this is real or not. One co-worker asks if I want to go with him. Fortunately, I was scheduled to work and couldn't attend. The big day rolls around. I'm at the job opening up. A few minutes later the groom walks in. I give him a frozen stare, and he just says to me, "Oh well, I guess I'm not getting married today." We all have a good laugh, but a lot of WTF looks on our faces. None of this made any sense, but it was funny. A couple hours later a car pulls up in front. The co-worker who invited me to go with him to the wedding gets out of the car, in a suit, comes inside and sees me. "Hey man, I've been at the church. There's no wedding. No one knows who B is. I don't know what the heck's going on." Right then B walks by. "Co-worker, what's are you doing here?" "BO, I had to work today, so we postponed the wedding a couple hours. We're getting married at 6 o'clock. Co-worker, to me, "Hey, what time do you get off?" "Me, dude, don't go back to the church." This is fantastic. My best friend and I jokingly told a boy at school that we were cousins when we were 13. He believed us, and so we came up with an entire backstory about how we were related. She was adopted, and we decided that her birth mother would be a second cousin of mine for the purpose of our story. We told everyone that we were related. This went on so extensively for so long that even our parents started telling people that we were cousins. Fast forward 17 years. Best friend gets married to that first boy who heard our joke. One afternoon best friend's new husband asks if her cousin best pirate ever is coming over for dinner. She proceeds to laugh hysterically and finally tells him the truth, that it was all made up. He was P for about an hour and wouldn't speak to her, then started laughing that we kept it up for so long. Similar to the Tifu potato story, I was at sleepaway camp around age 9 when we were served pieces of cantaloupe for dessert, a tragedy in its own right. I thought for some reason it would be hilarious to eat the rind on my piece, and everyone lost their crap. I said I'd never seen cantaloupe before and had no clue. My counselors called over all their friends to watch me eat the rind. They made me do it for the camp talent show. It became a joke year after year that lasted until I aged out of camp at about 16. I even wrote my college essay about it, all because 9-year-old me was an ass clone. So you know how you frick with your friends when you pick them up somewhere by scooting the car forward every time they try to open the door? Well, I was with my 2 other friends and one of them went into Kohl's with me to buy a few shirts for my GF while the other person waited in the car by the curb. I get the shirts, go to the car, and then he starts doing the scooting forward crap. Haha, so funny. Then he decides to drive in a circle around the whole parking lot and then come back to us. We think he's done, so we go for the car door handle and he pulls away and we see him drive all the way to the stoplight and take a right, which is in the direction of his house. This mother comes back 30 minutes later with a sandwich in his hand and finally lets us get in. I've never been so pee in my life. My girlfriend, 20 years old, was asked out on a date by a 50-year-old man where we work, wanting to mess with him. I told him she was my little sister, which he believed. He was shocked at first, but now a third of our co-workers think we're brother and sister, which is at least 30 to 40 people. Everyone else knows we're dating, but aren't in on the joke, so I'm just waiting for some huge clash at some point. You should just start making out with her in front of a bunch of co-workers. My sister is Korean and I'm Polynesian. She always introduced me as her sister, of course, and people soon realized it's through adoption. The more familiar people got with our big interracial family, she started introducing friends and even random Asians as her siblings too. People believe her and she's been doing it for years. It's really funny. She probably has 2,500 brothers and sisters. Are you sure you've been adopted? You might be some random Asian and she is taking this joke way further than you ever suspected. When I was in, I'd say, about 6th grade, a Chinese student transferred over into my school. He didn't speak a word of English. He went through special programs, of course. About halfway through 8th grade, he moved again. The student and I never really talked. for obvious reasons, but he did high-five me every time he saw me in the hallway. Why he did this, I don't exactly remember. So when he didn't show up for a week or so, I asked someone with the locker next to me if they knew where he was at. This person wasn't my friend, per se, but in the mornings and evenings when we often saw each other at our lockers, we engaged in a bit of small talk. His response to me was that he had moved. Of course, I was skeptical as to how he knew this, as this student didn't speak English and didn't have too many connections with other students outside of school. Through a little more talking, this person showed me a series of text messages between him and the foreign student. He went on to explain that he could speak perfect English the whole time. Needless to say, that was surprising. When my friend was a mechanic, he'd get his work shirts cleaned by this place that would always return the shirt with a hanger. For months he would take the extra hangers and put them in his roommate's closet without his knowledge. One day while my friend was sitting on the couch playing Mario Kart or Final Fantasy or something, his roommate came out noticeably confused and says, "I don't get it. Why do I have so many hangers in my closet? I don't even have that many shirts. Where are all these hangers coming from?" To which my friend responds, "You know what I do when I have too many hangers in my closet?" His roommate, needing an answer to his dilemma, asks, What do you do when you have too many?" "When you have too many, I put them in your closet." And I still laugh at it to this day. Thanks for making me remember. This one I really like. I'm always late to the good threads. In grade 8, one of my best friends went on vacation in the middle of the school year. He called me the Friday that he left and said he wouldn't be back for 2 weeks. Then told me to tell everyone he died when I got back to school on Monday. I played it off for 3 days before the dean of students heard about it. I kept playing it off until the dean called his parents to offer his condolences. I almost got suspended for that, but it was so worth it. One buddy of mine was getting into paintball a few years ago. Another friend thought it would be fun to frick with him, so he spent a few days researching anything and everything to do with playing paintball. He tells the guy that's just getting into it how he used to play on a nationally ranked team and was able to rattle off brand names, tournament locations, dates, and all sorts of random stuff. Kept this up for a solid month before the other guy finally found out he had never even held a paintball gun in his life. Legend. Hard work makes champions. I had a large group of friends in high school, around 7 or 8, and we hung out nearly daily with most of the members of the group. After some time of this, I suddenly started experiencing more and more gay jokes directed towards me until it had become a barrage. I was confident in my sexuality and it was semi-funny at first, but it actually got to a point where it started bothering me because it honestly seemed like everyone in the group thought I was gay when I wasn't. One day while sitting in silence with my cousin, who has been my closest friend since childhood, he suddenly states in a tone you would hear from a distracted father reading from a newspaper, "Oh, by the way, I have over time sat down each of our friends one-on-one and very seriously told them that you had came out of the closet to me in confidence." I was floored. All the months of jokes at my expense made sense. I wasn't even mad. Everyone was constantly crap talking and fricking around with people, so this just took the cake. I was impressed. I now retorted to the gay jokes with my explanation that my cousin had made it all up, but he had done such a good job they always just laughed and responded with, "Okay, Aranus one." I was always touched that they respected me and nothing changed between us, even in a time when being gay wasn't as accepted as now. Good one, man. Disclaimer: no homophobia here. It was high school in a generation where gay accusations were the bee's knees of crap talking. Took a friend out for his bachelor party. He passed out and we put his leg in cast. Told him the next day he broke it. He went to the ceremony with a cast and crutches. He was about to board his plane for his honeymoon when we reluctantly called him and let him in on the joke. He laughs about it now. Wife still don't speak to us. It has been 17 years now. Went to a costume party as Silent Bob. Didn't speak all night. My friends couldn't believe it. I talk a lot. At the end of the night, I loudly recited the preamble of the Constitution and wished everyone a good night. I heard someone who didn't know me say, "Oh my god, I thought he was deaf." I had a friend growing up who went to the same elementary, middle and high school with me, and then later also college. She has the same last name as me, but also our moms happen to have the same first name, a not super common name. We told people that we were half sisters. Most of our friends knew we were joking with the exception of a few people. The facts didn't add up really because we claimed to share the same mom, not the same dad, and our birthdays were only 6 months apart. Anyway, one of our high school math teachers decided it would be appropriate to look into our permanent records and called us out on our bulls in front of our class once. Well, that teacher just ruined the fun. From the start of freshman year in high school, I would steal all the dry erase markers from this one teacher every day. I never did anything with the markers, just threw them in a corner. After a while, a bunch of my friends started stealing them too. Since she complained about it a lot, she paid out of pocket and I was in butt. Some of us would buy her markers just to steal them a day or two later. This went on for 4 years. By my senior year, she knew it was me but couldn't prove it because I'm like a ninja. On my graduation day, I came in with 8 grocery bags full of loose markers and gave them all back. In 2002, while still in high school, a friend of mine covered my car in silly string and ketchup. At the time, my car was my most prized possession. She's since gotten married and had a child, arguably her most prized possession. Suru, that kid is getting silly strung whenever I next see her. This joke will be over a decade in the making and I'm pretty sure she thinks I've forgotten. I never forget. But the kid is innocent in all this. Just after graduating, I lived in a house share. I told housemate 1 to pretend to be upset when asked about his granddad's piano lessons and to eventually reveal that his granddad has no arms. I then asked housemate 2 to ask housemate 1 about his granddad's piano lessons. Housemate 1 puts in a stellar performance. So much so that after a good half an hour of apologies etc., housemate 3 has to comfort housemate 2. At this point, housemate 3 told housemate 2 that it was all a joke. The tables had turned. She came out of her room pretending to cry and offering housemate 1 a first edition of some book her granddad had, supposedly, given her as a gift. The whole thing must have lasted 2 hours. It was funny when everything was revealed, but the cringe levels were too high for too long. I knew people who did the same thing but with an aunt instead. Guess it's an international joke. My friends and I were going to Vegas. Best friend sent me an email with our hotel confirmation. Same day, I set up my new Google Voice number. The light bulb went on. I sent him a text from my new GV number thanking him for the reservation and advising him that he would receive promo texts. But if he did not wish to reply, stop. He did not reply. A few hours later, I texted saying he would receive a $25 voucher for the hotel's nicest restaurant, followed by the stop message. Again, no reply. For the next 2 weeks, I continued to send more messages. I was looking up actual events that were going during our stay and texted them to him. Eventually, I sent a message about going backstage to Thunder Down Under. Still, no stop reply. Either he didn't care, or I had him. The day we are driving to Vegas, he starts talking about all of these cool things he'd like to do, and references a few things that I texted. Hook, line, and sinker. About an hour outside of Vegas, I send a text. This message is confirmation of your reservation change. If you do not authorize these changes, please call us immediately. I see him look at his phone. I was sitting right behind him. And then he turns down the radio and asks us to be quiet, then makes a phone call. My phone lights up, and I put it where he can see it. He hangs up, thinking he accidentally called me, then dials again. I put my phone in front of him. He's perplexed. Me, laughing, asks who he thought sent all of those ding messages, and why he never replied stop. His response? I thought I could get some cool crap. You should have let it play out to the point where you go to one of these events and have him confuse the crap out of an employee when he insists he has coupons. A friend of mine spent about 3 months sending texts back and forth to a friend of hers. She created this entire story about how she started seeing an older man, who then revealed he was married and had kids. She even had another friend send texts as the man she was seeing so she could send screenshots of their conversations and texts to her friend. As the months went on, the story got more ridiculous. She decides to stay with the older man despite him being married, and even meets his kids while his wife's out of town and decides they're alright. This friend was completely taken in by the story. My friend would post the texts on Facebook with the friend she was playing the joke on blocked from seeing it, and we all thought it was hilarious, so we kept her secret like we asked. She revealed it was all fake on April Fool's Day. The last text she sent on the 31st of March was asking her friend for advice because the guy wanted to divorce his wife and be with her. So my dad was the first black dude in a little German village, late 70s. Whenever there was a Schützenfest, somewhat like a fun fair, his friends introduced him as an African prince to get them to buy drinks for him. As a sign of their hospitality, kudos to you, Dad. I recently needed to order a checkbook and decided I wanted custom checks. I wasn't sure what I wanted to put on the checks, so I jokingly texted my sister asking for suggestions and listing my current considerations as barefoot Contessa or a shark. We spent the next half hour finding the perfect picture of Ina Garten, and a week later I was the proud owner of a checkbook full of barefoot Contessa checks. It was all fun and games until it sunk in that I would need to actually look people in the face and hand over these checks with a picture of Ina Garten holding a glass of wine with a note above the memo line that says store bought is fine. Probably took that one a bit too far. That's absolutely hilarious. I love it. I dated a girl in college for a few years and her older brother and I pretty much hit it off right away. He was a prankster and loved to pull stuff on his parents all the time. The first time I met the parents, we all went out to a nice dinner. Well, prior to showing up, her brother convinced me to buy a fake ring and my GF played along and was wearing it throughout dinner. Once her mom saw it, she began crying in the middle of the restaurant saying how happy she was, welcoming me to the family, etc. I glanced over at her brother and his jaw was on the ground. I needed to immediately squash the whole thing and tell her parents that it was all a joke, that the bro set up. Thankfully, they are real cool people and we all had a good laugh about it. They were used to his shenanigans. I grew up in a really small town, practically a village, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. One day a friend of mine didn't show up in school, and when a teacher asked what was wrong with him, I thought it would be funny to say he was badly bitten by a dog and had contracted rabies. The rest of the class knew I was lying but for whatever reason decided to go along with it. Fast forward later that day, this rumor had spread all over town. Everybody started asking me how my friend was doing, whether it was that bad, and all sorts of questions. I couldn't believe people were really buying it. It was ridiculous. The next day he started getting social calls from concerned neighbors and teachers, and it took nearly 2 days before people realized it was just a prank. In the end it turned out he had a cold. Funniest couple of days of my life. Gotta love small town gossip. In my high school, if something happened third period everyone knew by lunch. Me and a good friend once convinced half the people we worked with that we were twins. Basically we both wore the same sweatshirt to work once day, and another coworker said we should tell everyone we were twins. We were bored, so we figured why not. Anyway, we came up with a huge backstory as to why we had different last names, went to different schools, and pretty much everything else. We even got her family, who were members of the pool that we guarded at, to get in on the joke. This went on for 2 years, and I think we only slipped up once. The guy who caught us kept it on the down low, so that was nice. Once we finally came clean about it, a lot of people seemed genuinely peeved. It's interesting how many of these stories involve people getting angry after the lie is revealed, but it seems the anger might be directed at themselves for not seeing through the lie, instead of angry towards the person who lied to them. I had gotten a new phone and gave one of my roommates my new number. We didn't talk or text all that often and she had an older phone so all her texts weren't linked to contacts or whatever. So one night I text her asking, "Hey, what are you up to tonight?" and she responds with, "Who's this? Ooh, oh boy, who shall I be?" Well, I then became Jake, the guy she met at a specific bar on a specific night. I knew she had been there and had gotten a little smashed. I asked her how her trip was and reminded her that she told Jake to text in a few weeks when she got back. I fed her some conversational information about herself, stuff you'd get in a conversation, work, hobbies, the friend she was with that night. Jake seemed like a nice guy, but every once in a while a small red flag would pop up as she texted back and forth with Jake. When things got a little weirder, Jake turned out to be married and was trying to solicit a threesome. For money, she came to me and my other roommate for advice. He was in on it. This went on for about a month or so until she and Jake started to negotiate on some logistics and price, and Jake had conceded that my roommate and Jake's wife would just fool around while Jake watched for $1,500. Then as Jake, I told her to call to finalize some details. The look of sincere confusion on her face when my phone started to ring in my pocket and the disgust when I picked it up and she put it together was well worth the nice bottle of whiskey and card I had to leave outside her door to coax her back out into speaking to us after a few days. You should have told her to meet you in a hotel room so that when she walked in she would see you two laying on a bed together. In college, my watch once reflected light from the window into my girlfriend's eye while she was studying. I kept freaking with her and bothering her with the reflection, so she closed the blinds. My roommate and I used every mirror and shiny resurface in the house over the next hour to bring a bright reflection from a window across the house. The moment the light impacted her eyes was glorious. She was so mad, mean, and hilarious. One day my now ex-boyfriend asks if he can arrange for our parents to meet. Neither my mum or I really care about this kind of meeting, so we joke that it's tradition in my family for parents to never meet. As proof, through crazy coincidence my paternal and maternal grandparents have not met each other and my parents have not met my sisters-in-laws. We're both trying really hard not to laugh our asses off. Tears were surreptitiously wiped. Lips were pursed. Fast forward about 5 years and my brother's girlfriend asks if my parents can meet hers. My mum tells me that she doesn't think the girlfriend will tolerate the joke, so since my boyfriend asked first she'll need to meet his parents. I let the boyfriend know that he can set up a meeting now. He had no idea we were joking. His family are so super keen on traditions that they believed our joke without question. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.